All right, good morning, Shabbat Shalom. So if you were going to go on a really dangerous and really challenging mission, what would you want from your leaders who are sending you into this? Would you want weapons? That would be helpful. Would you want intelligence telling you what to do, where to go, how to do it? How about shields? How about a backup plan in case it doesn't go well? How about your leaders just change one of the letters in your name and then tell you to go into this mission? You probably wouldn't be really happy, but that's exactly what Moses does for Joshua. Moses tells Joshua, whose name is Hoshea at the time, and he says, take these 10 men who are utterly useless. Right? They're the leader of the tribes. Where did they get their training to be leaders of the tribes? Nowhere. They all drew the short straw, and they're like, you're the leader. As you know, a lot of people become leaders of synagogues because they didn't show up at the meeting, and everyone else nominated them. That's how these guys got to be leaders. And they're told to go into a land that they had barely heard about, that they knew nothing about. They didn't know how big it was. They didn't know how treacherous it was. They knew absolutely nothing. So God tells Hoshea, I'm going to help you out here. I'm going to make sure you're successful. And Hoshea is like, oh, I can't wait. Now they're bringing in the heavy artillery. We're going to be okay. Moses says, you are no longer Hoshea, you are now Yehoshua. That's it? That's what you're doing for me? But it was actually the best thing that Moses could have done for him. Moses changes his name publicly, endorsing Joshua, saying, this is the right person for the job. It is very rare that leaders endorse the people who are going to be their successors, especially publicly. And Joshua didn't have any experience being a leader either, but it was Moses' confidence in him that made all the difference. But the question is, why does he just add a yud? Because that's all he does. He adds a yud at the beginning of the name. And it could have been any other letter, but he adds a yud. And if you remember an earlier name change, Avram and Sarai get changed to Avraham and Sarah. Now with Avram, they just added a hey. So it went from Avram to Avraham. But with Sarai, they took out a yud and added a hey. And there's a nice midrash that Moses took that yud from Sarah and gave it to Joshua. And if you think about in the story of Abraham and Sarah, especially when it comes to Isaac, who was the one who was really brave and courageous and impressive? It wasn't Abraham. If you're having a child, if you're giving birth to a child, ever, that's impressive. Again, I did take 6th grade health class. I was there for the birth of all 4 of our kids, and I'm going to be honest, I don't get it. I don't know how y'all did it. I mean, I know you did because here we are. But to do it at 90, that would have gotten someone's attention. But that's what Sarah does. Sarah's incredibly courageous, puts up with a lot, does a lot. So Moses takes that yud, and again, there's probably about 600 years between this story and the Abraham and Sarah story. And he takes that yud, and remembering her strength and courage, and gives that to Joshua, saying that when you have the strength of Sarah, you will be able to be successful. And I think that's really powerful when we think about what are the names that we give to our children. What kind of qualities do we want them to have? What kind of strength, what kind of courage that we want them to have? But even if you don't have someone in your life who really gave you the name that you think you should have had, or the name doesn't reflect you, every single person here, we actually give ourselves our own name, our own real name. And I'll tell you what your real name is. Your real name is the first word that pops into people's heads when they hear your given name. When they say, oh, Jim is coming. Oh, Jim. Jim is such a great guy. Jim's real name is Great Guy. Or there are other words that come into people's mind when they hear that you're coming over. Oh. That's your name. That's your name. But we can give ourselves a good name. In Pirkei Avot, Rabbi Shimon says, Sholshak tarim heim keter Torah, v'chater kahuna, v'chater malkut, v'chater shem tov ola al gabehem. That there are 3 crowns. The first crown is the crown of Torah. There is the crown of priesthood and the crown of royalty, but the crown of a good name goes above all of them. So a crown of Torah is you decide to live your life by acting wisely, by trying to make good decisions and try to be aware of how your decisions impact other people. The crown of priesthood is that you live a well-developed inner and spiritual life. It doesn't mean necessarily that it has to be a public religious life, but that you have nurtured your soul, that you've nurtured your neshama in a good way. And the crown of royalty is that you live with self-discipline and with selflessness, and that you balance dignity and with inner strength. And if you live with that kind of self-awareness, if you live with that kind of attempt to do good for others while also living a good life for yourself, you will develop a shem tov. You will develop a good name. Meaning when people hear about you, the words they use for you are the words that reflect the kind of person you want to be. So I think there's an incredible power here that we have ourselves, which is if we live with this kind of goodness, we will create the good name for ourselves. But we can really help other people too by helping them find that, by supporting each other. We don't always act at our best, but we can remind ourselves of who we are. And I think that's behind the most significant name change in the Torah. And that's when Jacob becomes Yisrael. Jacob was alone. He was about to confront his brother after many years. And this mysterious being or person challenges him and attacks him at night. And Jacob prevails. He's wounded. He's never exactly the same again, but he prevails. And he's given the name Yisrael. Yisrael means to struggle in a divine way, to struggle in a good way. And the name Yisrael has the word struggle in it, but what we have to remember is that Jacob struggled, but he won. He came out the other side. He remained who he was, but he was an enhanced version of it. We as a people have struggled, and we will continue to struggle. And sometimes all we remember is the struggle. Sometimes all we remember is the challenge. But the part we have to remember is that we won. Every single day the Jewish people is in business means we won the day. When people have been trying to get rid of us, who've tried to eliminate us, who say publicly that we're a cancer that needs to be radiated away, we show up in shul, we show up in schools, we show up in community service, we just show up every single day. Am Yisrael shows up is a day Am Yisrael wins. And that's the name that really matters. Shabbat Shalom.